baby gorillas, and I'm back at Westminster having a quick chat about what is happening down here from a political point of view. So we have some very interesting situations that are happening. Attacks on the leadership of both Keir Starmer and Boris Johnson from internally within their own political parties. Dominic Cumming attacking Boris Johnson, saying that he's not competent to do his job in his role, and that he wants to be replaced with the Goldman Sachs appointee, the globalist shillman, and to move Boris. And that's very much from the corporatist globalist part of the Conservative Party. And then we've got Keir Starmer, with mounting pressure on Keir Starmer that he has to win, basically, the next by-election that's coming up. Or he could see himself being kicked out of his political role as the leader of the Labour Party. Being pretty much a disaster. They were all hoping that Keir Starmer would be the transformative candidate, a bit like Tony Blair was, in transforming the Labour Party after Jeremy Corbyn's disastrous tenure. But it could be that the actual problems with Labour go far deeper than just the superficial changing of the leaders. Maybe the people in the rest of the UK don't actually like now what Labour stands for. And that is much more difficult to change and to now take back people who have now left the fold, who may never come back. So it also opens up the opportunity for a third party to come in, where there would be an opportunity for, if there was a decline in the Conservative Party, that these people would then go to a third party, not the Liberals or the Labour Party. So this is very interesting. Boris Johnson doing a great job of changing the political discourse by marrying his long-term partner. And that was a great way of trying to torpedo the publicity that was affecting him through what Dominic Cummings was actually saying. So, I mean, it's just unbelievable what's actually happening. But Boris just now is actually in a very strong position, because Boris is over 10 points ahead of the Labour Party just now, over 10 points ahead. And even if the Labour Party did get rid of Keir Starmer, who are they going to replace him by? So they haven't got somebody who's highly competent that could come in and replace Keir Starmer. The quality of the Labour Party and the Labour MPs, as we've already seen, is very low. So they are ripe for plucking as a political entity. We could see the continued decline in the Labour Party. And you know, I always get it right. So, but Boris is in a very strong position because he's so far ahead. If they go into the next election, say they change Keir Starmer and get some other plonker, that they won't be able to actually change the political momentum that's actually already happening within the Labour Party. This might be systemic to the Labour Party because they're not very good now. And there are other people now, other political entities now coming up to actually replace, almost having a Conservative Party versus a Libertarian Party, or a classical liberal, Libertarian Liberalist Party. But I mean, you can be slightly conservative, mostly conservative on certain issues, but you can be conservative and libertarian. The two are on different parts of the political spectrum. You can have some conservative values, but be extensively libertarian and libertarian liberal. But you can't be libertarian liberal and conservative at the same time, because they're two separate political entities. And conservatism is authoritarian by its nature. So it's that's very interesting as well. So there could be a realigning from socialism, and as Nigel Farage in American television has said, the socialists are getting a beating, not just here but in America as well. They will continue to get a beating. And this is a problem for socialism. In fact, it could be socialism that's on the wane here. And we could be going back to a Conservative Party versus a Libertarian Liberal Party, a Classical Liberal Party. That could be the change in the political dynamic. So there wouldn't be a Socialist Party, and that would make it very, very interesting, a very different sort of dynamic in British politics. A revolutionary change just now. A corporatist, globalist almost entity, the Conservative Party, whereas the Libertarian Party would be more of a capitalist entity, but it's still a centrist, still centrist. So it could be this could be a real sea change in where the political landscape actually lies, and we are seeing a continual decline in the Labour Party, continual decline. So Dominic Cummings is doing very well. Dominic Cummings is obviously a very intelligent individual as well, and obviously he had the gripes when Boris Johnson kicked him out of the political party, or not the political party, but his inner cabal. And I would suspect that Dominic Cummings has sworn some sort of revenge, and he's been very particular on what he was saying in the committees in here. However, I tend to agree with Boris. The mask wearing, mandatory mask wearing, and the lockdown has been illiberal and unlibertarian, and this could have been handled probably differently. And there's now things coming out, I won't talk about it on YouTube, but there's now things coming out in connections with what had happened in China, and in connections with the US as well, and people who are high up there had connections. So I won't go too much into detail about that, but Dominic Cummings made Boris actually look good. Reason being that he said that this was illiberal and not in the interest of the individual, which Boris was completely correct. It is illiberal, and these that won't be happening much longer. We're already seeing the backlash. There was large crowds out in London over the weekend, and there are people now starting to protest the lockdown. So there's big problems ahead for this continued lockdown, the continued authoritarianism of what is actually happening here. And that's a big worry for any of the political entities, the political entities that are in Westminster, because both of them, both Labour and I don't know about the Liberal and Democrats, both Labour and the Conservatives are both pro this mandatory mask wearing. It can't last much longer. And we have to go back to where we were before. Strong economic growth in the UK on the back of this as well. People have obviously had a massive rest, and it looks like that the UK will have a massive boost to the economy, which will only get it back to where it was prior to the actual pandemic. So, I mean, that's fascinating stuff. So, Dominic Cummings is really going for Boris. Boris did a brilliant political manoeuvre by marrying and taking the focus off of Dominic Cummings and onto the marriage of him and his long-term partner. I mean, really brilliant move by Boris. But Boris is actually, I would say, quite secure, although there will be people who want to move him and saying he's incompetent, he's this and he's that. Boris will actually stay in the position just now. He will not be able to get moved, especially with such a large lead. If Boris takes that lead into a general election. He may call it early. I don't know if he can call it early. I don't know if it's still, we're still get the fixed term Parliament. But if he could call it early with that massive lead and increase the size, although he's not doing very much with the actual size of the majority he's got just now, to increase the majority, which would be great, would bring in more Conservative MPs, would be great for Boris. If you've got a huge lead and you're not doing anything with it, or a huge majority, then you're still not doing anything with it to actually transform the country, then what's really the point? If you're just managing the country from afar, what's the point in having a huge majority, with the exception of having more Tories and Tory MPs in the actual in this house? But even the Conservatives just now, even though they will be in for probably another 10 years, they've also got other problems. What's happening in Scotland? The SNP have pretty much, well, nearly got a majority of seats in the Scottish Parliament, and the majority of the political entities in the Scottish Parliament, based on the number of MSPs, is now nationalist and want a second independence referendum. Boris will not be able to stop that democratic push. He can't say to the Scottish people, no, you can't have it, if that's what they've wanted. But it might be in Boris's interest if he defeats a second referendum in Scotland. That could really see the problems for the actual SNP and the greater nationalist movement per se. So that's a huge problem and possibility and chance for Boris. Could be a double-edged sword for the SNP. He could give them it, and then they could lose. The SNP could lose, and then it's causing problems there for the SNP after the loss of an election, like Quebec in Quebec, when they pushed and lost the second referendum. I think it decimated their political party. So, I mean, this is really, there's some real issues there to actually be addressed. It's a scorching hot day here, and I'm going to leave it here. I'll do some more reporting, and I think Boris is very secure. Boris is very, very secure just now. He's too far ahead in the polls. He's got too large a majority and who owe that to Boris as well, and his stance. There's too many things going in Boris's favour to have a coup at this point. Boris is not weak enough politically by any margin, any shape. And he's also letting Mogg, who's brilliant in the dispatch, Harry Potter, at the dispatch box, who's brilliant, very clever. Both Mogg and I don't know whether it's in the water at Eton, but Mogg and I was listening to Bojo the other day there, and he was very good at the dispatch box as well. So they seem to have a plethora of individuals who can actually present themselves. That Kimmy Bannock, I can't remember Kimmy's surname, but she's very good as well. Another competent deliverer in Parliament. So I mean, really, they've got a selection of individuals who are producing, unlike the Labour Party, who are just now a Remainer party, who want to force Remainers in Leave seats, and they're getting rejected because the people in the what was the Red Wall, just like in Scotland, no Red Wall there, completely collapsed. And the people there are saying, wait a minute, hold on, why are you continually forcing Remain MPs, and we're a Brexit leaving constituency? Why are you disrespecting us, you London lovey? And that's the problem just now. These sort of middle class, very affluent London Remainer types are forcing the beliefs on the North and Midlands. in these Leave seats, and they're flipping to other parties, flipping to the Giorgio Portugali way. He'll probably get some in the Spain, I can't remember, but the Spain by-election that's coming up. And he'll get a large section of the left vote in there as well. There's another party that wants to succeed so split England, and there'll be a northern party. I don't know if they want full independence or just parliament. I'm not quite sure what their policies are, but they're doing really well. They keep getting votes all over the place. They've come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden this northern party, who might want to, I don't know if they want to break away from southern England, but I mean, it's just absolutely incredible that these guys have came out of nowhere, again affecting the Labour vote as well. The UKIP are not, UKIP and the UK Reform Parties have fallen back. They fell back in Wales. UKIP fell back in Wales, which is a bit of a shame as well. That they had some. It would have been good to actually keep them and have a different voice in Wales. Unfortunately, Conservatives are gaining at this, and again, the Conservatives are gaining from the collapse in UKIP. Not building it as fast for the UK Reform Party. So, I mean, they have to bring out more and more people in these seats. They have to be attacking every seat now if these small parties like UKIP and the UK Reform Party are going to actually have inroads. So they have to have people all over the place. They're not doing that just now. There wasn't any people in Scotland in the first constituency seats for the UK Reform Party. So they have to change it and bring it up again at the volume. But because obviously the Conservative Party are just running away with it just now. And who is the Labour Party going to be replaced as a political entity? That's something that we're going to have to think about, because it is full of doughballs. Let's be honest, the Labour Party is full of doughballs, and I think people don't like what their message and what they're saying, their identity politics or racist Marxism. I don't think the average small S socialist, but also conservative as well, small c conservative, are really interested in that sort of Labour Party, and that's maybe why they're losing the votes. Oh, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely huge. Well, I'm away to go a pint because this is absolutely boiling out here. I don't know what it's like anywhere else, but it's absolutely teeming down. It's very quiet just now. Obviously bank holiday, and I think nobody's here apart from me, who always likes to deliver the news to you. So yeah, big things ahead. Boris is going to be protected because he's too strong just now. He's too far ahead in the polls. He's got too many people in jobs for the Conservative Party. Even with Dominic Cumming trying his best to torpedo Boris to replace him apparently with Richie Sunak, who's Goldman Sachs guy, who Dominic Cummings just spent a part of his life trying to undo the globalist ambitions, allegedly, of Goldman Sachs. So, I mean, it seems incredible that he's going to then turn around and back the Goldman Sachs candidate. Oh, come on, what's going on? And I think Mogg to me is outstanding. I mean, he is outstanding. He's as a parliamentarian. Brilliant delivery at the dispatch box, just a brilliantly, very intelligent individual. What he'd be like as a Prime Minister if he had the full gamut of political powers, we don't know. But I really think it's now time, and I think what we should be doing is voting for other parties out with the Lib Lab Con party and trying to change the dynamic in British politics. That'll make it much more interesting, much more fun. much more exciting for new policies being able to be brought through. Because if you trouble the Lib Lab Con party, don't forget the media are protecting the Lib Lab Con party, but if you trouble the Lib Lab Con party by voting for other people, at that point we actually then see change. It doesn't really matter who the other party is, but we actually start to see change in the politics. A lot of the Lib Lab Con party just say they're going to do it and then don't do it to mitigate the up and coming political threat. So you really need to vote to actually then get another political entity in power so they can affect change. It doesn't really matter who, but just that's the ability to change the dynamic in British politics, which will be absolutely fascinating over the next number of years to see if the British populace will actually allow that change to actually happen. My baby gorillas, I'm sweating like a fat guy in a sauna, so I am off to hopefully get a pint from Westminster. Love you guys.